Hello and welcome to In Depth. I am Tina Jha. Monsoon is considered to be the lifeline of India, where economy is still largely dependent on agriculture. And at a time when several parts of the country are witnessing agricultural distress, the Met Department has brought in some cheer with its long-range forecast. The India Meteorological Department has announced that the country is likely to witness a near-normal monsoon this year, with a well-distributed rainfall that could be beneficial for the agricultural sector. As per the forecast, there is a 39% chance of a near-normal rainfall, 32% possibility of a below-normal rainfall, and only a 10% chance of an above-normal rainfall. According to the forecast, the seasonal rainfall is likely to be 96% of the long-period average, with a model error of plus or minus 5%. The southwest monsoon, which makes its onset over the country in the month of June, irrigates over half of India's cropland and sustains the livelihood of over 58% of its population that is dependent on agriculture. And therefore, the monsoon forecast is extremely crucial as it directly influences agricultural production and has a spiraling impact on India's economy. On the show today, we talk about the importance of monsoon for India and its economy. We also tell you about the monsoon cycle as well as the El-Nino effect. The Met Department's prediction of a near-normal monsoon this year means that the seasonal rainfall is likely to be 96% of the long-period average, with a model error of plus or minus 5%. Significantly, this year, the Met Department has introduced a category of near-normal for rainfall between 96 to 104% of the long-period average. In its forecast last year, the rainfall between 96 to 104 of the long-period average was classified as normal. 90 to 96% rainfall of the long-period average is below normal, and 96% rainfall also borders on below normal and normal. The southwest monsoon makes its onset over India around May end and first week of June, critical for the agricultural sector. The 4-month rainy season contributes more than 70% of India's annual showers. According to the latest global forecasts, weak El-Nino conditions have developed over equatorial Pacific Ocean and they are likely to persist this summer. However, the Met Department officials have maintained that these conditions would weaken after summer. El-Nino is associated with the heating of Pacific waters and it sometimes has an impact on monsoon. Last year, the Met Department had predicted rainfall of 97% of the long-period average, but by the end of the season, the country received 91% rainfall. The department will issue the second stage monsoon forecast during the first week of June.
Much awaited news related to monsoons has been released by IMD, and I'm joined by Director General KG Ramesh sir. So what's the news?
Monsoon is going to be normal monsoon with good distribution of rainfall. That should help Kharif operations and farmers of the country. And then quantitatively we have assessed at 96% with plus minus 5% error. And another good information is El-Nino impact is going to be minimal or no impact. And along with that, positive IOD conditions over Indian Ocean are developing, likely to develop during the monsoon season. So taking all the three factors into consideration, India should have a good rainfall season for 2019 and it should be a happy news for the Indian farmers. So far everybody was predicting about emergence of El-Nino and that would perhaps affect the monsoon rainfall distribution. But major assessment, our assessment says monsoon rainfall is not going to be affected by the factors like El-Nino and other factors, and India should look for a bright monsoon 2019 with good distribution of rainfall helping the farmers.
The monsoon rains are critical to nearly 60% of India's rain-fed agriculture, and the timely arrival and adequacy of monsoon winds play a vital role in our farming practices. These winds vary across seasons, across years, and also across decades. And this variation is commonly known as monsoon variability. Our next report gives us details of the impact of monsoon rains on Indian agriculture.
The Indian economy is heavily dependent on agriculture, and the livelihood of the Indian farmer largely depends on the monsoon rains. If figures are to be believed, 70% of the Indian population depends on farming, either directly or indirectly. Around 58% of the total employment in the country is through agriculture. Also, the agricultural sector in our country contributes to around 18% of the GDP. Southwest monsoon in India is a 4-month-long affair from June till September. More than 75% of India's annual rainfall occurs during this period itself. The fate of the Kharif crops depends on the performance of the southwest monsoon. Good rains during the season results in bountiful crops, which further benefits the farmers. A major portion of the country's crop area is completely dependent on monsoon rains, as they are not equipped with methods of manual irrigation. The Indian economy gains due to good monsoon rains in the country. Farm output goes up, boosting demand for consumer goods as well as income of rural people. All of this leads to a stronger economic outlook that in turn helps lift equities, especially of companies selling goods in rural areas.
Monsoon plays a very important role in agriculture even today. In fact, most of the problems the farmers and the agriculture sector face as of now is basically related to monsoon. In the sense, if there is no good rainfall, that means there will be drought kind of situation. If there is heavy rainfall, then also it is a problem, it leads to flood. So both floods and drought kind of situations are not good for agriculture in general. And then what happens that if farmers lose his crop even once in 3 years, I mean, it is very difficult for him to survive. So in fact, 1 year's loss means he has to take another 3-4 years of normal rainfall to get normal crop, then only he is in a position to move.
Monsoon-friendly crops with a high requirement of water like sugarcane, jute and paddy can easily be cultivated during summers in areas with a high proximity for monsoons, whereas crops like wheat and barley require moderate temperature and water and therefore can only be grown in winters. Normal monsoon rains keep a check on food inflation due to the availability of food produce. However, in a situation of drought, prices soar significantly. Not only do the prices increase drastically, but the cost of living also tends to reach a new high. Also, if poor monsoon results in less crop output, the country may need to import.
Agriculture economy, as I said, if there is a good crop, there is no deficit rainfall or abnormal rainfall anywhere, then farmers will get a better yield and more income, and farmers' income improves means the overall economy also improves. Not only agriculture economy but even the overall economy will improve.
More than anything else, the failure of monsoon has a huge impact on the life of the Indian farmer. Most Indian farmers rely on good crop produce during monsoon to earn their living and in order to overcome debts incurred. Crop failure and or deficient rainfall is one big reason for mass farmer suicides across the country. This further cements the importance of monsoon in an agrarian economy like India. Lastly, agriculture is in the only sector which is affected by the performance of monsoon. In fact, as many as a dozen sectors depend on monsoon, either directly or indirectly. The agricultural output of rain-fed crop areas in the country has social, political as well as economic implications. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The monsoon season in India starts with the onset of the southwest monsoon in June and continues till the middle of September. Let's understand how and why the monsoon season arrives every year at the same time.
The Indian monsoon is the most prominent of the world's monsoon systems. It primarily affects the whole of India and its surrounding water bodies. Monsoons create an entire season in which winds reverse completely with different temperature trends over the land and ocean.
See, we are expecting a well-distributed rainfall scenario in this forthcoming monsoon season. So, that type of well-distributed rainfall scenario is actually beneficial for the agricultural field. So, we hope it will be beneficial to the farmers.
According to the direction of the wind, monsoons are mainly divided into two parts, the southwest and northeast monsoon. Southwest monsoon is also called the Indian monsoon as it covers most parts of the country, while the northeast monsoon is known as retreating monsoon. The southwest summer monsoon is attracted by a low pressure area that's caused by extreme heat of the Thar desert and adjoining areas during summer. During monsoons, the wind direction reverses. Moisture-laden winds from the Indian Ocean rush up to fill up the void, but because they can't pass through the Himalayas, they are forced to rise. The gain in altitude of the clouds result in a drop in temperature, bringing about rains. When the northwest monsoon reaches India, it splits into two parts around the mountainous region of the Western Ghats in south-central India. One part moves northwards over the Arabian Sea and up the coastal side of the Western Ghats. The other flows over the Bay of Bengal, up through Assam and hits the eastern Himalayas. The southwest monsoon reaches the coast of Kerala around June 1st. It usually arises in Mumbai approximately 10 days later, reaches Delhi by the end of June and covers the rest of India by mid-July.
Then again, its distribution is very important. If it is good, means an average rainfall is good, means it can be flood in some places, drought in some places, then the overall average rainfall will be good. That is not a good thing. So the distribution of rainfall is very critical. So it has, in all regions, we should see that the rainfall is normal in all places. Then only we say this is going to be good for agriculture and for the farmers.
The winds contain a lot of moisture. When these moisture-laden winds move over the Indian subcontinent, they cause widespread rain throughout India and from June to September. Thus, most of the rainfall in India is confined to these 4 months alone. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Time for a short break. On the other side, we'll understand the El-Nino effect. Do stay with us.
Watch The Big Picture with me, Frank Rausen Pereira, at 6:30 p.m.
Tales that inspire. Stories of social change. A salute to diversity. Promoting public discourse. Events that motivate. Inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching In Depth. Whenever we talk about monsoon, we hear the word El-Nino. It is a weather phenomenon linked to normal rains as well as drought. Globally, it can trigger above average rains in northern Peru, drought in Southeast Asia, Australia, India and northeastern Brazil, cyclones in the central Pacific and stormy weather in southern and western United States of America. In our next report, let's understand what is El-Nino and what are its effects on the monsoon.
El-Nino is a Spanish word that means the little boy. Scientifically, El-Nino is a climate pattern that describes the unusual warming of surface waters in the eastern tropical Pacific Ocean. As the ocean is one of the biggest influences in our weather, this phenomenon has a dramatic effect on the weather around the globe. For more than 100 years, scientists have connected the variability of the summer monsoon rains in India to El-Nino. Due to El-Nino, the surface temperature of the ocean could witness an increase of 5 degrees Celsius. In such a condition, the warm water also acts as a cap that prevents cold water from coming up to the surface. This not only affects the weather across the planet, but also marine life and seabirds.
El-Nino is one of the parameter which is considered for bringing out this forecast. So, if you see, it is actually the warm conditions, sea surface conditions of the equatorial Pacific region. So, now if it is on the warmer side, we are telling it as El-Nino. So, if we take the current situation, very weak El-Nino factor, El-Nino is prevailing there. From the normal, it is 0.5 to 1 degree centigrade above. It is prevailing at present sea surface temperature. So, this is termed as a weak El-Nino. And however, once in the monsoon season, especially for the second half of the monsoon season, we are expecting it to be reduced in intensity. So, that is the El-Nino condition.
During an El-Nino event, the prevailing winds across the Pacific weaken, and sometimes they can even reverse and blow the other way, which in turn affects the global climate and disrupts normal weather patterns, leading to intense storms in some places and droughts in others. Although El-Nino does not occur in a perfectly regular pattern, it seems to happen every 2 to 7 years. The average period length is 5 years. It was only in 1960 that oceanographers and scientists tried to understand the effects of El-Nino widely. It was then discovered that El-Nino not only affects the unusual rainfall in Peru, but also impacts India's monsoon patterns. It has also been linked to droughts in Australia and floods in parts of South America. Scientists, however, say climate change might also be adding an extra kick to El-Nino because warmer oceans add more fuel to storms and weather patterns. With inputs from Leena Sharma, Bureau Report for Rajya Sabha TV.
For most of us, monsoon rains are showers of relief. After the scorching summer, this is one annual event that all of us anxiously wait for, especially the farmers who depend largely on monsoon rains for their livelihood. But what causes the monsoon? Let's find out in our next report. Monsoon refers to a seasonal change in the direction of the prevailing winds of a region. It arises due to a difference in temperature between landmass and the adjacent ocean. Monsoons cause wet and dry seasons throughout much of the tropics and are most often associated with the Indian Ocean. In India, monsoon usually arrives around the 1st of June every year. The summer monsoon and the winter monsoon determine the climate for most of India and Southeast Asia. The southwest summer monsoon is attracted by a low pressure area that is caused by the extreme heat of the Thar Desert and adjoining areas during summer. During the monsoon, the wind direction reverses. Moisture-laden winds from the Indian Ocean come to fill up the void, but because they cannot pass through the Himalayas, they are forced to rise. The gain in altitude of the clouds results in a drop in temperature, bringing about rain. When the southwest monsoon reaches India, it splits into two parts around the mountainous region of the Western Ghats in south-central India. From here, one part moves northwards over the Arabian Sea and up the coastal side of the Western Ghats. The other one flows over the Bay of Bengal, up through Assam and hits the eastern Himalayan range. The summer monsoon between April and September brings about heavy rainfall. As winter ends, warm and moist air from the southwest Indian Ocean blows towards the Indian subcontinent. Humid climate and torrential rainfall in countries like India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh and Myanmar is brought about by the summer monsoon. The winter monsoon lasts from October to April.
The dry winter monsoon blows from the northeast and is less powerful than summer monsoons in Southeast Asia. This because the Himalayan range prevents much of the wind and moisture of the monsoons from reaching the coast. The Himalayas also prevent much of the cool air from reaching places like southern India and Sri Lanka, keeping them warm all through the year. Besides the summer and winter monsoons, there are other monsoons as well. The Asian-Australian monsoon, which includes the Indian Ocean, stretches from northern Australia to Russia's Pacific coast. This huge monsoon wind system then stretches into the Indian Ocean. The North American monsoon happens once a year, usually in the middle of summer. Warm, moist air from the Gulf of California blows northeast, while warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico blows northwest. These two winds meet over the Sierra Madre Occidental Mountains in central Mexico. The monsoon brings moisture to the mountain ecosystem before continuing north to the US states of Arizona, New Mexico and Texas. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Monsoon results in a change in the nature as well as direction of winds. Our next report tells you how this happens and what triggers the onset of the monsoon.
There are many theories about the origin of the monsoon. The thermal wave theory says that when the sun changes its position during summers, sun rays directly fall over Tropic of Cancer. This creates a very low pressure in the Thar Desert or northwest part of India. It is this low pressure that allows northeastern trade winds to move from land to sea to be unable to cause rains. Besides this, the center of excessive low pressure in the northwestern region pulls in the southeast trade winds flowing from the southern hemisphere. These trade winds from the northeast in the northern hemisphere and from the southeast in the southern hemisphere fill up the low pressure areas in India. The southeast trade winds cross the equator and enter as southwest monsoon winds. Because of the Coriolis effect, these southeast trade winds are deflected east in the northern hemisphere, transforming into southwest trade winds. Southwest monsoon winds are moisture laden as they blow over the ocean, which is why they trigger rains on entering India. Monsoons can be categorized into two branches based on their spread over the subcontinent: the Arabian Sea branch and the Bay of Bengal branch. The Arabian Sea branch causes rains in western coast and western Ghats, while the Bay of Bengal branch hits the Arakan-Yoma mountains of Myanmar and causes rains in the northeastern and eastern part of India and heads towards the Gangetic plains. According to the second theory of monsoon, during the summer months in the northern hemisphere, the ITCZ or the Intertropical Convergence Zone shifts north, pulling the southwest monsoon winds onto the land from the sea. However, the huge land mass of the Himalayas restricts the low pressure zone onto the Himalayas themselves. It is only when the Tibetan plateau heats up significantly more than the Himalayas that the ITCZ abruptly and swiftly shifts north, leading to the bursting of monsoon rains over the Indian subcontinent. The reverse shift takes place for the northeast monsoon winds, leading to a second minor burst of rainfall over the eastern Indian peninsula during the northern hemisphere winter months. A major reason for the origin of monsoon is the Jetstream Winds that flows in the upper atmosphere of the Himalayas. It has two parts, Eastern Jet Stream and Western Jet Stream. Being helpful in flying jet aircrafts, they are named Jetstream. In the winter season, the Western Jet Stream blows over India or Asia. As long as the Western Jet Stream blows over India, high pressure remains on India and it prevents the surface air from rising. Because of this, monsoon winds do not come to India. But during the summers, the Western Jet Stream slips towards north and the Eastern Jet Stream blows over India. Due to the Eastern Jet Stream, the surface hot winds in the northwest part start rising upwards and builds low pressure. And to fill this void, monsoon winds start moving towards India, and this causes the onset of monsoon. Light or heavy rainfall is also due to jet stream disturbance. When this disturbance is strong, it causes heavy rains, and when it is weak, it causes drizzling. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, so that's it from us in today's edition of In Depth. We'll be back same time tomorrow with a focus on some other subject. You can also watch our episodes online on YouTube and Twitter. And don't forget to send your feedback and suggestions about our program. Thank you very much for your time.